Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Path of Exile 2 Skills. Today we're going to be looking at a really fun one, which is Pounce. It's actually one that might make it into just about any one of your builds, even if you're not running a totem, because it's just really fun to use. Pounce is a leap, and it's technically a slam also, if I remember correctly. And you can get some pretty interesting bonuses out of it. First off, because of the tags on Pounce, it has a ridiculous number of tags. Minion, Shapeshifter, Werewolf, AoE, Melee, Slam, Trigger, Mark, Duration, Travel, Meta. It's kind of like a do-it-all multi-tool. And hopefully by the end of this you'll understand just how powerful Pounce actually is. Now let's read it first and we'll talk about it later. Shapeshift into a werewolf and leap to a target location, damaging enemies in the area around where you land. Predator's Mark will be triggered. The Predator's Mark comes with it, targeting the highest rarity enemy hit. Or, if a mark gem is socketed into the skill, that mark will be triggered instead. Using this skill allows any wolf minions you have to leap immediately. So first off, when you pounce, it does apply Predator's Mark. Predator's Mark is a mark a target, causing it to take increased damage based on how many of the target's enemies are near to it. If the target dies, the mark will activate to trigger the summon wolf skill and consume the mark. This basically gives you minions, right? So you get minions with this ability if you don't put a mark in here. Now you can put any mark you want into the Pounce ability, right? So you can put Sniper's Mark, Freezing Mark, Voltaic Mark, Blood Mark, etc., right? Like you can put all of the marks into this ability, whatever one you want to, right? This basically allows you to mark a target for free when you leap into a pack. The pack will essentially automatically jump in and mark the target. I do have a character, I think, already set up with the mark. So let's take a look at this one. And we'll just go ahead and leap on something real quick so you can see how the mark works. Right, so if I'm running in here and I find a target, boom, marked immediately, right? And this allows me to get the marking effect on that particular target, which is really nice. In this particular case, when you're talking about the marks, that's just one aspect of what the ability does. Right? Marking is amazing. You can, of course, pull the mark immediately without fulfilling the conditions if you utilize cross slash, which is kind of a crazy ability that essentially just allows you to fulfill the conditions of the mark as long as you hit the target with both like cross slashes, essentially. So there's two slashes and an X, and they need to be in the center. So basically just make sure you're using cross slash on the target that you want to fulfill the mark for. Now, Pounce is also a travel ability, and a very good one at that, where you can literally travel across the screen. So if you want to leap, boom, a nice little leapies. It is on a cooldown, though, if you haven't noticed, because I can't just sit there and spam it. So it does have a cooldown of 4.7 seconds, and I think mine is less than that. No, I don't have any cooldown reduction on it. I probably should put cooldown reduction on it, if I want to spam it, that is. Now, I also have Holy Descent, because it is a movement ability that leaps into the air. You can create consecrated ground when you land. And I also have another ability on here, which is kind of making it a little difficult to see. It's the one, I believe it's this one. Yeah. So you can see the consecrated ground, and you can actually see the buff on my character. So every time I'm leaping, I'm getting the consecrated ground, which is giving me increased life regeneration while I'm standing in it. It's actually a very effective way to enter combat. I would I have the Naruto reference here. I would call it dynamic entry, where you basically get to just like come in and, you know, yeah. I can also ancestrally boost it, which is really nice. So it increases the damage and the area of effects, which is actually pretty nice. It is once every 4 seconds. The cooldown is like, what is it, 4.70. So every single time I leap, I'm always getting the ancestrally boosted, which is the extra spikes that you see. I can also reduce the cost of it because it does kind of get to a high cost without it. I think without the efficiency gem, it's currently 292 mana per cast, which is kind of disgusting. So I keep that nice little efficiency in there. I am using Freezing Mark on this particular ability because Freezing Mark is buffed to gain cold damage, and I'm also setting up specifically for freezing targets, so I want my targets to freeze. So instead of using the Predator's Mark, I'm using the Freezing Mark, and I get to fulfill those conditions by freezing a target or by using Cross Slash. Also utilizing Eternal Mark with this, which is marks from supported skills are not consumed the first time that they activate, which is really nice. You could also potentially utilize the support gem that causes mark skills once they have their conditions filled to put down Shocked Ground, which can give you extra damage that way as well. In general, Pounce tends to be a kind of a crazy ability because it does like everything, and it's kind of hard to explain just how much it does without writing it all down. So what does Pounce do? Pounce heals you. So you could use Consecrated Ground. I'll just put Conk Ground. It also marks for you, so you can have it auto mark. So let's just put auto marking, which is really, really good, right? It can be used to summon wolves, which is also amazing. It is also a slam, so it fulfills the conditions of a slam and can be used to do things like break shield walls. It can actually gain a lot of the benefits that slam can, like ancestrally boosted. You can utilize it, I think, to make fissures and a whole bunch of other things. It's actually a pretty crazy ability in terms of like the fact that it's essentially everything. It also is a travel skill, which allows you to jump over walls and essentially make progress. It is a very good dynamic entry device, basically leaping onto packs, right? Which is a really effective way to enter combat. So you leap directly into the pack, applying a mark, and essentially getting, you know, like the head start on everybody because you're leaping in before they have a chance to realize that you're even there. And then it's also, boom. It's also a shapeshift skill. It's also a minion skill. Now, because it is a melee skill and a minion skill at the same time, it actually has the ability to gain the benefits of both melee plus the skills and minion plus the skills at the same time, which is actually really interesting for this particular ability. It's not something that you normally see. So it can get both minion and melee plus skills, which makes the plus skills on this particular ability kind of crazy, because you can have like a +2 helmet, you can have, you know, like the traditional like +5 weapon, you can have, of course, you know, like plus skills like the plus minion belt, which would give more plus to skills to Pounce. That's one of the new ones that was added this season that you can craft on the tree, the breach tree. It's just kind of crazy, like how many plus the skills you can potentially have on Pounce, getting it to an absolutely crazy level, because you can have your minion skills and you can also have your melee skills both beefing it up. So you can have your +2 melee gloves beefing it up, and you can also have like a really nice minion amulet, minion helmet. You could even have a scepter with minion skills on it beefing it up, because there is a passive on the tree. This one right here called Lord of the Wilds, which allows you to use a non-unique scepter, which would have minion skills, and you could have those minion skills also apply to Pounce, right? So if I haven't impressed it upon you yet, it's an absolutely amazing ability. It heals you with Consecrated Ground, it auto marks, it summons wolves, it slams, it travels, it has really good dynamic entry properties, basically leading into a pack without having to worry about like walking in there. You basically just leap directly into the center. You can essentially apply down like Shocked Ground, you can apply down the nice little like aftershocks and fissures if you want to. Like, depending on how you want to set up Pounce, it's pretty amazing. The fact that it has a cooldown on it is probably the only thing that prevents it from being like a main ability where you just leap around and murder everything, because with the level that it potentially goes to, it could be crazy damage, but limited by its usefulness. Now, some of the good support gems that you can put in there besides the ones that I talked about, one of them that you might want to consider is the one that gives you multiple cooldowns, specifically because it'll give you more uses in a shorter period of time, but less uses in a longer period of time. And that is the... where are you? Where are you? I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. It's the one that allows you to use the ability twice, but increases the cooldown by a significant amount. I can't remember if this one can actually get access to it or not. Let me grab a Tier 5 here. Not cooldown recovery 1, not cooldown recovery 2. Second wind, that's what it is. Second wind 1 and second wind 2. Yeah, and second wind 3. So these are 40% less cooldown recovery rate, so it makes it longer, but supported skills have twice as many cooldown uses. I'm pretty sure you can use these on Pounce. Let me double check. Cannot use second wind on Pounce? Interesting. So in that case, you're stuck with the cooldown recovery 2, which is probably the better bet to increase the overall number of uses. And you can, of course, get more cooldown recovery in other places, depending on which character you're running. Having the ability to spam Pounce more often is definitely useful because you can apply your mark more often, right? And if you utilize cross slash, you can easily pull that mark. So you can go back and forth pulling your mark over and over again. Why is that beneficial? Well, things like freezing mark give you extra damage, right? So if you teleport onto a target, as an example, like that, and then you cross slash, you should be able to get your mark fulfilled instantaneously. So as you can see, we have our freezing mark gaining extra damage as cold right here, because we're essentially fulfilling the mark instantaneously and getting the damage in advance. Which is really nice. If you're using any of the marks, that's a really good way. Pounce combined with cross slash is a really good way to fulfill a mark and get the benefit of the mark relatively easily. Like sniper mark creating frenzy charges, freezing mark giving you cold damage, voltaic mark giving you lightning damage, and so forth and so on. I believe bloodhound mark causes an explosion, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about with this ability. I mean, it's just really good. It's kind of like a jack of all trades ability that just does like everything. And I would even consider using it on characters that are not werewolf characters, just simply because it's so good. Like for instance, if you were considering using Sniper's Mark on a character, well, why not use Pounce to apply it? Why not just have a Talisman on the other hand and use Pounce to apply it? With the way that they currently have the system set up, it's actually really easy to do. You could very easily set up using these things down here, which is used with weapon sets. And if you check the right boxes, you can basically make sure that it never utilizes, of course, it will always utilize the Talisman anyway, but you can essentially make sure that you're always swapping back and forth to the correct weapon whenever using the correct ability. You would, of course, uncheck, like, for instance, if it was on weapon set 2, you would uncheck weapon set 1, and then for all your other abilities that are not on weapon set 2, you would uncheck weapon set 2 and then leave weapon set 1 checked, and you would be able to just swap back and forth seamlessly. It's actually really easy to do. I have a character right now that is currently set up this way, and I'll give you a glimpse into how this potentially looks like. But this character is utilizing a big shield and a parry shield. So I can essentially drop a shield wall with one and then instantly swap to my parry shield just like that. And this is because if you look at parry, well, in parry's case, parry cannot be used without the parry shield, but there are other abilities like Fangs of the Frost, which you can see I have number 2 unchecked, specifically because number Fangs of the Frost is where I want to do my ability. Shield Wall, however, as you can see, is on number 2, specifically because that's where I want Shield Wall to be used, is with the weapon set 2. So this allows me to drop the Shield Wall and Fangs of the Frost with the opposite weapon. Very easy to do, and Pounce is one of those abilities which you could easily work into a build as a starter, and then as soon as you use your main ability, you will instantly swap back to your main attack or your main weapon set, so it doesn't really matter. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you're enjoying the content, and as always, keep watching.